I, 45 female, have a 27-year-old daughter. She has 6 kids, between tweens and an infant. There are 3 different fathers. She receives child support from 2 of them, and she's still with the 3rd one, and they have been for 5 years. My daughter works part-time and her fiancé is a chef, full-time. They've lived with us for a year and a half due to getting evicted from their last home. The kids and they have our upstairs bedroom. There are 2, but that's still crowded for 6 children. They constantly ask me for help with phone bills. My husband and I have asked for no rent so they could save money to get a home, which I do not believe that they're doing. I've put up with loud voices throughout all hours and waking up at different hours to cater to children because I love my grandchildren. I never complain to my daughter because I believe family's very important. It's just that my children are all grown up. My youngest moved out 4 years ago, and my husband and I hope to remodel. We didn't expect them to be living here this long. On Christmas Eve, my daughter gathered us around and announced they were pregnant with baby number 7. Everyone was all excited, but I felt dread. That would mean another child in our house with little room. I looked over at my husband and could tell he felt the same, and we discussed it later and decided to ask them to move out. Last night at dinner, I brought it up to my daughter and her boyfriend, and we told them that they have 2 months to find a place because we cannot have another child here. My daughter started crying, saying she couldn't believe I'd throw her to the streets for having a baby, that this was completely unfair and not enough time. I told her I was sorry. It was also painful for me, but these living conditions were impossible. She demanded I give her more time or she'd go to the courts. And I told her, newsflash, the courts only give you 30 days. She then said my grandchildren were going to be homeless because I was selfish. She made a Facebook post asking for rooms to rent because she's pregnant and has nowhere to go, and her family doesn't give a crap about her. Am I the idiot? Jesus, 7 kids at 27? That's insane, especially when she basically has no stability. Doesn't she know what's free at Planned Parenthood? Birth control, pill, shot, implant, IUD. I can't imagine how a person could be so young with so many kids and still think that having intimacy without taking every precaution to prevent conception is a good idea. If you don't kick her out, I can guarantee that within 5 years, she'll exceed 10 children, if not more. Not the idiot. But why did you wait until she had 6 kids before putting down boundaries? Yeah, it's not just having another kid either. It's the fact that they don't respect your home or the sacrifices you and your husband are making for her and her kids. She probably doesn't do much around the house either, does she? Nor do I believe she contributes to the groceries outside of buying herself and her boyfriend certain items they like and keeping them put up for themselves. She needs to change her life and start planning for her future drastically and the future of her children because they'll have a tough time in life. And I'm sad to say she's already ruined hers. I think everyone's the idiot here. 27 years old and going on to 7 children by 3 different bio dads? I'm side-eyeing you and your husband's parenting. Know this, right now, you're doing the right thing. Because if you and your husband don't act now, you'll take care of them forever. Also, I'm super curious about her going to the courts. Empty threat. What the heck? As she calls it, the courts only care if there's a rental agreement. I hope OP doesn't have a rental agreement with her, right? OP, your daughter's been having babies since she was a teen. She never will if she hasn't figured out how not to get pregnant by now. Anyone who tells a relative who let their family live rent-free in their home that they take them to court after they're asked to move out was never intending for it to be a temporary arrangement. She needs a wake-up call, and you need to establish boundaries with them. Good luck, OP. You're going to need it. I, 30 female, am currently the guardian of my niece, Jade, young grammar schooler, and nephew, Mark, preschooler. My brother and his wife, the parents, passed away 8 months ago. My cousin Rita, 30 female, is getting married to her partner Andy, 29, non-binary. She would like Jade and Mark to be a part of their wedding. Andy and Rita do not care for traditional gender roles for their wedding. Andy's best friend growing up is a woman, and she would be his best woman. One of Rita's bridesmaids is a trans woman, and another is a non-binary who would be wearing a tuxedo to the wedding. Andy and Rita asked me if Mark could be the flower boy and Jade the ring bearer instead of the traditional roles. Mark would still wear his little tux and Jade a taffeta dress. I believe if it's not too crazy, whatever the couple wants at their wedding, they should get. I said yes, and everyone was happy. Rita took a picture of Jade and Mark and posted it on social media, captioning it, "My flower boy and ring bearer girl." A few hours later, after the kids and I got home, I got a call from Zoe, my sister-in-law's mom, and the kids' grandma. Zoe and Rita were Facebook friends because their workplaces collaborated once, so she saw the picture of Jade and Mark. Zoe blew up at me, telling me Jade and Mark cannot take up those roles. She said that they would just attend the wedding as guests if they were not the flower girl and ring boy. She said that all this gender-fluid hogwash would come back and bite society later, and she wants her grandkids away from the drama, and neither Rita nor I had the right to place her grandkids amid this gender nonsense. She said Jade and Mark have the right to be protected and keep their activities and participation to things that are gender appropriate. I personally think Zoe's ridiculous and needs to chill. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Zoe is ridiculous. What little boy wouldn't love to walk down the aisle, throwing things at people and making a mess? Heck, at 4, that would have been my son's preferred role at a wedding. Walk down the aisle carrying a pillow or throwing flower petals. No brainer there. I think Zoe has a point. Everyone knows that touching flowers before the age of 5 makes little boys like floral design. And from there, it's just a matter of time before he's gay. And nobody wants that. Good grief, Granny. Get a grip. There is nothing gender specific about carrying either a ring or some flowers. Both these tasks can be done by someone of any gender. My cousin Allie, 18 female, is my Aunt Laura's daughter. Sadly, Laura died when Allie was only 5 months old after a sudden asthma attack. I was very close to Aunt Laura. She helped my parents out a lot when I was born, and my mom was going through cancer treatments. When my mom returned to work, she continued to help, and until her death, I was at her house every day after school. I'm 25, by the way. Laura's husband, Joe, Allie's dad, remarried when Allie was 2. I remember my family being so happy for Joe and Allie, knowing Laura would be glad that they had someone else to love them. Things soured when Allie was about 5, and she told us that her mom and dad said Laura was no mother to her, and her mom was more of a real mom. She also said that her mom had done way more for her than Laura ever had, and it was a disgrace to credit Laura for being her mother. Some of the stuff she said was not that of a kid her age, but she would also say that her parents said Laura wasn't her real mom and stuff of that nature. It crushed our family because everyone had supported Joe and his second wife. She ended up adopting Allie when she was 4, and it seems like it wasn't long after that when they started making Laura seem utterly unimportant, to the point where Allie would say Laura meant nothing to her. She hated that we loved Laura, and her mom was better, so we should swap Laura for her. The bad blood ran deep, and the courts were involved, so we could still see Allie. We did not welcome her family, though. Allie would always speak so rudely regarding Laura. She told different family members to take down photos of Laura and put up family photos instead. She told us we were cruel to her mom for making it seem like Laura was more of her mommy than her. As a teen, she got worse, and she told me once that I was so weird for talking about Laura like she was still here or like she wasn't years gone. Allie knew Laura had been such a huge part of my life. She yelled at my younger brother, Teen, for saying once that I would name my baby Laura if I had a daughter. This was only last year, and my brother was a young teen at the time. I decided when talking to my fiancé that I didn't want to invite Allie for her crap all over Laura at my wedding. A photo of Laura will be included in the wedding alongside my fiance's brother and grandparents, who passed away a few years ago. I knew she would also demand I invite her parents and siblings. Allie confronted me over the lack of an invite. She said she's either family or she isn't, and I'm being an idiot. I told her I didn't want her there, and it should come as no surprise, since she thinks I'm weird for loving my aunt, who practically helped raise me when I was little, and since she hates my aunt so much that she wants no traces of her. I told her there would be more than traces at my wedding, and since she feels so offended by that, I'm saving us all the heartache of listening to her. She called me a witch and said I hated her for loving her real mom. Am I the idiot? Edit. She believes Laura was just a glorified surrogate and not an actual mom. She said she didn't do enough to earn that title. Not the idiot for not wanting her or her family at your wedding. If I were you, I'd just cut contact entirely with her. She sounds like all kinds of toxic. The entire family sounds exhausting to deal with. You may want to have higher security to keep them out of the wedding, because they seem to be the type who crash a wedding just for giggles and giggles. You don't need the drama on your wedding day. I don't think she's toxic. I think she's been manipulated. She's been brainwashed by her dad and stepmom from an early age. It'll take some time to unlearn and process this, assuming she does the work to do so, which she may not. Honestly, I feel bad for the kid. What her parents did to the memory of this girl's mom is genuinely tragic. I wouldn't say she was brainwashed. This young woman lost a parent before she could comprehend what loss was and only knew this other woman as her caregiver. I see the lashing out as confusion of why people grieve a person she never knew. But I agree, not the idiot, and some time apart may help with whatever feelings are being stirred up. My 32 male, buddy 33 male, is marrying a girl our friend group is not in love with. He loves her though, so we support him. We've known for months this was a New Year's Eve wedding. I RSVP'd yes months ago with my wife. Several friends and I operated under the assumption that there would be alcohol at the wedding, especially considering it's on New Year's Eve. Well, I found out yesterday that it's a dry wedding. It turns out it's basically because of his fiancée and her family. I asked my wife if she knew this, and she said no and was angry. I texted the groom buddy and asked. He confirmed this. I told him this is something you should have told us long ago. I told him that my wife and I wouldn't be going. We want to spend the night drinking. I texted the rest of my friends about this, and the group chat went off. This led to several more people backing out. This is not how a bunch of us expected to spend New Year's Eve. The only ones that didn't back out were the 4 members of our 12-person group that were in the wedding. My groom buddy reached out to me and went off. He's now overspending on catering. He's having 20-ish fewer guests show up than planned, and this is all last minute. I've been called an idiot, among other things, for leading the charge, and people not attending the wedding. Am I the idiot? Edit. This was never mentioned to any of us in the friend group, not in person, not on the invitation. It was assumed that there would be alcohol as our buddy drinks. I found out via a mutual friend that was also invited. Nothing is directly told to us by the bride or groom. I love drinking and hate a dry wedding as much as the next guy, but you can show up to the wedding ceremony, spend an hour or 2 at the reception, and then get blackout intoxicated if that's an absolute must for you. Backing out last minute and letting your friend know he's not worth 2 hours of sobriety means you are the idiot by miles and miles. Weddings aren't meant for drinking all night, as you mentioned. They're for celebrating and supporting the couple. I think this is more about not liking the bride, and this was the perfect excuse not to attend. Agree. If drinking means more to you than a friendship, you might need to evaluate a few things. OP and these other so-called friends of the groom care more about getting intoxicated than they care about the groom. It's just too much of a sacrifice for them to be sober for a few hours on one of the dozens of New Year's Eves that they'll enjoy in their lives to be with a friend on his wedding day. The groom needs to get better friends than this bunch of idiots. And like at 32, to not be able to give up a night of drinking? Wow, alcohol is not more important than a friend's wedding. I thought maybe a 22-year-old would think something like this, but a 32-year-old? Actually, I can't believe any of you are in your 30s. All of you are acting like a bunch of children. Beyond that, though, I've never seen such a clear picture from such a small post of how the entire group is just a bunch of idiots. You don't support each other in any sense of the word. You just go through the motions and trash talk each other behind each other's backs. At least your friend has the courage to confront you personally for costing him thousands of dollars by ruining his wedding mere days before it happens. My fiance's been divorced for 3 years. He had 3 kids with his ex, and they have 50-50 custody. The kids love me, and we all get along great. His family, however, invites his ex-wife to his family events. I told him that it's disrespectful to me because she's not his wife anymore. She left him for another man, that I'm going to be his wife, tomorrow's our wedding, and it makes me feel very uncomfortable and disrespected when he's there taking photos with his ex-wife and kids while I'm sitting on the sidelines. It's just completely unnecessary, in my opinion. I understand entirely, and I'm there 100% to keep things peaceful for the sake of the children. But I feel like this has reached the point of being ridiculous. His ex didn't need to be invited to Thanksgiving. She had her own family. Nope. His family invited her to Thanksgiving, and now they're talking about inviting her for Christmas. My fiance is supportive of me, and he'll stand up to his family and tell them that it isn't fair to me to include his ex in everything. These events have nothing to do with the kids. They never ask if their mom can join us. Am I out of line for putting my foot down about this? Taking photos with his ex and kids? You mean the kids are having photos taken with their parents? Oh, the disrespect of it all. His family's allowed to invite whoever they choose, and apparently, they want to invite the children's mother. Regardless of how you feel about her, she's still linked to the family via the children. You can be annoyed, sure, but putting your foot down is not something you get to do. You don't have that influence to decide who is and who's not invited to someone else's event. You host, she doesn't get invited. You don't host, you shut up. Also, you don't know if the kids want her there. That's you projecting your thoughts and attributing them to the kids. Sorry, but you are the idiot. You don't wield the influence you think you do here. The audacity of those kids. How dare they take a picture with their parents? Like, what? The parents are divorced, but they're still their parents. If this is the hill you choose to die on, then be prepared to have problems with his family. She will always be around. She's the mother of his children. You really need to get used to that. I wonder if OP ever stopped to think they're inviting his ex to holiday events solely for the kids. If they didn't, then some years later, her soon-to-be husband wouldn't be able to see his kids on Thanksgiving and Christmas. They have a beautiful co-parenting relationship, and OP is determined to ruin it. What the heck? It's an extra red flag that OP waited until the night before the wedding to give this ultimatum. She played nice before the wedding to cement her role and thinks the marriage is enough to throw her weight around and get her way. Imagine her face if he reflected on her demands and didn't attend the wedding himself, because that's what I would have done in his shoes.